I would have enjoyed the clarity of the system in 1905. It seemed to work. I can understand that the inequalities must gall, but the poor are always with us. Jesus said it, and I'm sure that's right.
It's 2 weeks since 19 volunteers from the 21st century arrived at the country house of Manderston. Over the next 3 months, they must live and work exactly as a household would have done a century ago.
A prayer for obedience. Help me, O Lord, to obey in all things lawful those in authority over me. Grant that I may be respectful, painstaking, and honest, not answering again, but with good will doing my work as to the Lord, and not to men. Grant that...
Daily prayers is the only time the lower-ranking servants see their employers.
May the Lord make our servants dutiful. Amen.
For the rest of the time, they live a world apart. In Edwardian society, even the very wealthy were not free to behave as they wished. At Manderston, the Olive Cooper family from Hampshire will have to face up to these constraints. A businessman and a doctor are now Sir John and Lady Olive Cooper. With their children, 10-year-old Guy, 18-year-old Jonty, and Lady Olive Cooper's sister, they have to observe the strict etiquettes of their elevated position.
Sadly, I'm not very good at the game.
I think my family is doing pretty much quite well. Jonty is definitely fitting in. And Avril, she's not married. She's living in our house, which makes her status go... Mother's just gone mad because she's used to working, and now she's just going... Vroom, 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 happy, happy, happy. Major happiness overload. And father, general boss, he works as a boss. In the house, he's a boss. And he's good at being a boss. Yes.
Thank you, Ida.
Common sense suggests that I should eat this melon with a spoon.
Certainly not.
I think you just have to leave it to show how wealthy you are.
If we have one more conversation about the finer points of etiquette, or if I even have to listen to one more conversation on the minutiae of etiquette, I will scream.
But I wonder if these people actually thought, this is ridiculous.
I'm sure they must have done. The conversation is restrained in its topics because we can't discuss anything of a very personal nature and we can't have a row or anything of that sort. So we have to stick to fairly bland subjects, but whilst the servants are here. So we do find ourselves saying ridiculous things like, not in front of the servants, dear.
Mum said that you have to keep your cap very low. So when you look at the servants, you have to look down like that to make them look inferior.
Yes, it's really most uncomfortable.
Below stairs, the servants are trying to come to terms with the disciplines of Edwardian service. Strict routine, respect for the hierarchy, and a working day that starts at 6 and ends as late as midnight.
So, what are you doing at 10:30?
I must ask you, which housemaid cleaned Miss Anson's bathroom last night? Who was it, please?
It was me, Miss Davies.
Well, I'm sorry, Jessica. I went in to check, and I found there was no towels whatsoever and a pool of water on the floor where she'd got out of the bath.
There.
2 days ago, 24-year-old Kelly Squire was an office worker from Kent. Now, the new scullery maid, she will rarely leave the kitchen during the day. Her predecessor only lasted 2 days.
Kelly, can you try to sort out as well the ice house as well? There's a bit of, what do you call, a mop.
I'm having a really horrid day. It's only my second day. I don't think I can handle it.
You messed up all day. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you. See what I mean?
Trained at Maxime's in Paris, the chef de cuisine, Monsieur Dubillard, has spent his working life in the service of others.
Turn the taps off!
Scullery maid, oh God. Sweet, very sweet. And she had some weird ideas about living in 1905. I mean, what do you expect that you're an office worker? They're living in dreamland.
As butler, Mr. Edgar must get the lower servants to accept the disciplines of Edwardian service and put their modern standards behind them.
Look, I'm having to make roll-ups like this. Prison roll-ups. This is not good.
The monotony continues. No change there. Just all I do is clean knives and forks and glass all day, every day, and carry it upstairs and carry it back downstairs again.
And so much is expected of us already. I think where I'm tired and oh God, I sound so stupid.
What's the matter with the young ones?
Really sorry.
What did they think they were going to come and do here? Appear in television for 20 minutes? And then swan around? I knew fine well there was going to be a lot of hard work. And it is not yet as hard as I thought it might be.
Houses like Mandeston were not inherited like the houses of the aristocracy. They were built with new money to improve the social standing of their owners. In this pursuit, there was no more potent a weapon than the dinner party. In a few days, Sir John and Lady Olive Cooper will host a political dinner, when the efficiency of their servants and their own social skills will be tested to the full.
To say that today has been stressful is to understate it. How you announce somebody when they come into the room, how you address them formally, how you address them informally, what you write on their place cards, what you write on their room cards, how you write them, how you style the envelope, and how you finish the letter. Oh dear.
The Edwardians understood the requirements of their social position. Here at Mandeston, they have been written down. The rule books detail the duties of each servant and how they must behave in the hierarchy of their new lives.
Servants should not oblige their masters to acknowledge their existence. Should a lower servant inadvertently find themselves in the presence of their employers, they should endeavour to become invisible.
It just makes you feel like you're not worth anything, you know. Am I that despicable that she can't look at me? You know, I'm only doing a cleaning job. It's not like I smell or, well, I probably do smell by now. But, you know, it's not, it's just, to me, if I worked for her, she could at least acknowledge my presence.
Normally I'm just supposed to ignore the housemaids. And if I meet one by accident, she's meant to just avert her gaze and withdraw into a corner so that I'm not incommoded by having to acknowledge her presence. Fortunately, as I'm very short-sighted without my glasses, this isn't a great problem for me because I can't really see them anyway very clearly. But it does seem strange.
So shorten your reins up, toes up, heels down.
I think I'm as worthy of this as any of the other gentlemen of that period would have been. I try not to be too harsh on my servants. Whoa, Jack, steady. Steady, Jack. Steady.
Shorten your reins up just a little bit. It helps a lot with your balance.
I think Tristan understands his role in this and how his role would have been in this sort of society. I think he would have understood that if he'd been born into a society where there were people in families such as mine who had everything for nothing, did no work, steady Jack, did no work and had everything, I think if he was born into that sort of society, then it wouldn't be an issue for him, it wouldn't be a problem.
Even in Edwardian households, some positions were only taken by the most desperate. Scullery maids rarely stayed long, and were often as young as 13.
It's not all it's cracked up to be being a scullery maid. You really are the lowest of the low. He's asked me if I'd like to get up a bit earlier than 5:45 and tend the ovens. And I said, no, I'm not getting up any earlier than what I have to, just to go and stoke fires that I stoke all day anyway. I'm not doing it.
Stop patronising me. Do your thing, do your job.
Kelly's refusal to do all her duties is creating tension below stairs and increasing the work of the lowest-ranking male servant, hall boy Kenny.
Kelly still argues that she still did too many pans. She wanted to offload half of her job onto me. She's using blackmail as well, which isn't really very good. She's saying, you either do my job or I leave.
Yesterday we had quite a long discussion. Kelly complained that she did nothing but pots all the time. But the pots still need to be done. I know that some people might think that pots is not a man's job.
No, but would a whole boy have done the pots though, sir?
Yes, he would have done anything he was asked to do.
Mr. Edgar's job as a butler is very, very difficult. In 1905, Mr. Edgar would have been the butler under people who had nothing, who were grateful for the job. They would be completely under his control. But here that's a bit different.
How much grot do I have to do in a day, sir, for it to be enough? Do you know what I mean? I have to do this much grot already. And so you take half the grot off one person and chop it onto my already long enough grot pile as it is.
I've read quite a lot about what happens in a household like this. That is where my grandfather was coming from in his day. He had no time for fripperies at tea time. He'd be polite and loving by asking us, how are you doing, boy, at school? Oh, all right, Grandpa. It was a bit harsh. So, dinner tonight, we were very informal. They all spoke, and I told them they could speak to me, and this was not a formal meal.
But it's not right, though, is it? Because my job is that the scullery maid, whose job is in the scullery. My job is hall boy. I have to sleep in the hall, which is bad as it is. I don't get a bedroom, right? I have to clean the men's bathroom, right? Do you know what I mean? I have to spend
your filth anyway.
I have to spend 3/5 of my day with Mr. Dubier, which is bad enough for anything. Do you know what I mean?
Spend a day with him.
I mean, he doesn't talk to me. He talks to someone else who I don't know. Do you know what I mean? And that isn't fair. Do you know what I mean? I lose enough, sir, if you're sleeping in the hallway and cleaning the men's bathroom and emptying chamber pots. And do you know what I mean? And it's not fair to give
And you must understand that in 1906, this conversation
would never have happened.
Precisely.
You know, sir.
I would have come in and I would have said, you do that, you do that, you're doing that, you... So, keep quiet, keep quiet, and you would have done it.
Because of like me being bored out my brains with pots and pans, Charlie's come up with the idea that he would be scullery maid for the day, I would be hall boy for the day, and Kenny, the hall boy, would be footman. Now, why Charlie wants to see exactly what I do all day, I don't know, because I've told him I wash up and I clean up all day, and that's it.
As first footman, Charlie is the butler's right-hand man, and his reallocation of duties has received Mr. Edgar's blessing. But such unorthodox experiments would have been forbidden in Edwardian households.
Hopefully, I'll be able to see how much work Kenny and Kelly are doing in relation to everybody else and find a resolution to keep everyone happy, hopefully.
Well, that was nice, and I wasn't consulted at all, wasn't asked if I thought that was a good idea. So now I'm going to be running around like a headless chicken, be telling Kenny what to do all the time, instead of just getting on with it.
1 o'clock, yeah? What are we having for the tutors' dinner and master guys' dinner?
They're having the same as the sandwiches.
They're having sandwiches as well?
Yeah.
I thought the point of this was to see how we could get a household up and running and get smoother and smoother. No one knows what they're doing today.
He's fantastic. He understands the problems I have, and he supports me fully. In a sense, I find that Charles is like me. He wants perfection.
So what do you think, then?
Well, at the end of the day, she just doesn't like washing pots, does she? But it's not going to change, and
But
it can't change.
No.
And there's no point in saying, oh, well, perhaps one day a week we all do a job change, because that's just daft.
She's trying to say that she still wants me to do some of her dishes.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
No.
Because I do enough work already. And you can agree that because you've seen today.
So you should...
You know what I mean? My job's my job, and I'm not going to moan about it and try and get it changed.
Right, you look too damn smart in that suit, you bastard.
Yeah, no,
You
you look
get
like
it.
some rough scrubber that we've dragged up from the streets now.
I feel like it as well.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity and sacrificing yourself.
Don't
Now,
you wind
get
me
yourself a big wooden cross, nail it to the wall and do that, and then we'll all think you're being a real scumbag.
Well, sir, I've come to let you know of the investigations that have happened today. It was, to be fair to her, it was quite hard work. You know, and I think she'd like not to do the pots on a more frequent basis, but, you know, made the suggestion to Antonia that, you know, how about if we just did, like, a job share once a week and we did it on a rota? That means we're only having to do pots once every...
You do
No,
pots?
just saying everyone, but not
No,
you,
really.
sir. Not...
What does she expect? She's a scullery maid.
Exactly.
And if she doesn't like it, at the end of the day, she'll go. You know, as a father, you have lots of children, and you know, you love them all. And if you have a favourite, you keep it to yourself. But you always have one that, well, is different. One day, he said to me, I love you, in a funny sort of way. Imagine how fantastic.
Shall I shut the door on the way out, sir?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
It's just like when a son turns round and says, I love you, Dad. That's how I felt. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Simon Berry, Berry Brotherton Rudd. Sir John is expecting.
Oh, yes. Do come through.
Thank you.
Tradespeople may not be admitted through the front door unless they are professionals of elevated position. Even then, they should be asked to wait in the vestibule rather than within the main house. Should they prove undesirable, they may then be asked to leave with the minimum of fuss.
I mean, you cook only for staff.
When I ask, or you say it's clean, and I'm a cook, that's what I am.
Yeah.
Dinner parties were so important to Edwardian families that French chefs like Denis could earn up to 10 times more than the butler and 30 times more than junior cooks like Antonia.
Yes, of course, yeah. I'm trying to ask you to do things. Or to
Like-
cleaning some, for example, cleaning on things.
But their temperaments were ill-suited to the rigid system. Few chefs stayed in one house longer than 2 years.
Doing that anyway, and I do clean it anyway. I spent the first week with 3.5 hours sleep cleaning the frigging place.
Do you want the middle?
No, I just want you to sort of tell me exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, because I don't think you understand.
I understand you're having this big dinner party tomorrow.
Big and important dinner
Big
party.
and important.
Yes.
So I thought...
Full of the great and the good.
Absolutely. Well, I thought I would bring along 2 half litres of 1876 Tokai Essentia.
And we're going to waste those on our guests.
Yeah, well, Tokai was just beginning to come into this country. It was so precious. It had been kept for the Tsars and for the Habsburg emperors up until about the turn of the century.
You leave things out as well, you know. Every time I put something down, it's moved or put away when I'm going to use
Listen,
it.
do you want my jacket? Do you want my
I
apron?
all I want you to do is have some communication.
What about you, Miss Kitty?
Oh,
Are you going to start on me now?
No, I was going to try out. Why, spending your time actually writing letters, so we're not fair enough. I mean, I would like to write letters as well.
So are you trying to say that you're the only young person that ever does any work in this place?
I'm just saying to you to actually try to make it be more an effort, that's all.
Going back to 1906, you could pay for really quite ordinary German wine anything up to the equivalent today of 50 or 60 pounds a bottle. I suggest that what we do is maybe have a taste of a couple of them to see if they're going to be right for the two lighter courses.
Yeah, well, good. That would be a labour of love,
Which would be a labour of love, wouldn't it? It's going to be quite a rich soup, I suspect.
100 years ago, German wine was widely considered to be the best in the world. At houses of quality, white wine was rarely French and never dry.
Very much sweeter. Which would you recommend?
I think that would be more authentic.
Then we must be authentic.
You've got no idea what this life of servitude is about.
Look, we're all here to try and figure out what Edwardian life is about. And obviously, we can't handle it.
He's probably the root of most of the problems downstairs in the kitchen. He's so mad.
I'm a servant now and I'm a servant in the past and I'm probably a servant in the future.
He's very temperamental and he's really hard to work with. And he has a go at everybody for everything, but everything he does is fine.
When you try and interact with him and make friends with him and say, well, come and join in with us.
No, I cannot join in with your fun, no!
From time to time, with the permission of his master, the butler may bestow upon his servants a night of merriment or dancing. This will create fortitude in mind and body, qualities that become those in service.
I will hear enough of the KD actually from here. I mean, someone actually asked me, why do you want to plug the bird now? I mean, there's been 3 days I've been asking them to plug them, but has no one actually would like to do them because I think they're too frightened by feathers. Don't know why. I mean, it's very soft. It's very nice actually. It's nice with fingers. Quite like solitude anyway. Loneliness. Loneliness is everywhere. When you die, you're always alone. And do you think the birds actually feel lonely? It's lonely now, isn't it?
Servants must avoid the temptations of vice. Excessive alcohol will compromise dignity, stunt growth, and often induce insanity.
Morning.
Yeah.
Charlie's been sick.
And I'm afraid this one.
Got absolutely legless. I was sick all over the floor. Monsieur Dubiat came into my room this morning and says, "Kenny, get up!" I was like, "Go away, you horrible French Frank, now get out of my face." And then I realised I'd been sick all over the floor and down the side of the bed. It was an alright night.
Half an hour is a 8:15.
Fantastic, sir.
You'll be at breakfast table.
Indeed I will.
Fully dressed.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
It is a gross breach, because he's a good lad. So what does a father do? You tell him off, you cover him up, tell him not to do it again.
Between you and me, we got to make sure that actually we don't poison people, really. It's quite funny, really. I don't think they actually know what's going on.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning. On Friday, we've got a dinner party, and we've arranged for about 20 guests. This is going to be quite a formal do. My husband's anxious to make quite an impression. I don't know if you've got ideas for the menu.
Yes, I do.
Yes. What are you suggesting?
I was thinking actually a consommé petite marmite first.
A consommé?
A consommé. I was thinking about oysters, a granite or champagne, fish course, roast venison, a sweet, a station of truffle on some cheese.
That should be all right, I think, yes.
All servants are expected to report for morning tea at 11. So far, Kenny and Charlie have failed to appear for any of today's duties.
Does anybody have any idea where our beloved Kenny is?
No, Mr. Edgar.
No, sir.
It was cutting wood, Mr. Edgar.
Whereabouts?
I have no idea.
She always seems to find activities that nobody knows where the activity is held. That's the problem I have with Kenny. I wanted to know where my men were. Nobody knew. Like if they were a wall of silence.
So, I don't mind bits.
Do you know where Charlie is?
He's not in his room.
He's not in his room. He's not in the pantry.
Cheers, cheers.
I was frightened. And I thought, gosh, what have they done?
In the Edwardian era, liver disease was common among male servants. Wage books of the day show countless dismissals for drunken behaviour.
Kenny? Charles?
Morning. Oh my goodness, I'm not sure.
You know the time?
No idea, sir.
No, don't run away. It's 2 minutes to 12.
2 minutes to 12?
2 minutes to 12. I've been looking for you since 11 o'clock. And you, Kenny, you're in dead trouble today.
Yes, sir.
Monsieur Dubiat is furious, and I'm even more furious. And you haven't behaved well either. Go away now. Get out. Betrayed. And I've learnt a dreadful lesson. I now understand why my grandfather was the way he was. Discipline, discipline, discipline.
Best of 3.
In the 1906 general election, 20 years of Conservative dominance ended with a landslide for the Liberals. But in the dining rooms of the great houses, men like Sir John still had to impress members of both parties.
Oh, there's Lord Deedsbit. I can swap him over. That's it. He's going to look a bit neater. Now, Baron Bentinck.
At their dinner in 2 days, Lady Olive Cooper could ruin her husband's reputation if she strays from the golden rules of seating precedence.
Inherited titles presumably have greater priority than life peerages. In this particular situation in 1906, it would have been the important issue, precedence orders, and which matches up to what happens in the house. Everybody has their place, and everybody must know their place and keep their place. David Steele is a something now, isn't he? So he's a lord, but a lord doesn't take precedence over a baron. Though if it's a foreign baron, does he or does he not? Because he's a Dutch baron. then that might be seen to be rude. It's an absolute minefield, this.
Kenny, come here. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are you not eating, Charlie?
No, sir, thank you.
What have I done wrong? I have given them freedoms they would have never, never known. And I feel disappointed with myself. Yes, monsieur. Merci beaucoup. Vous êtes trop gentil, monsieur.
Yeah, I know that.
I'm going to say something to you now. I always tell you I love you all. I want you, all of you to know that. But I want you to know that today I am disappointed. I will not accept this type of behavior in this house. Nobody will be dismissed, but I can tell you in 1906, the majority of you would have no job. We are a family. And like in all families, sometimes the wheel comes off the cart. There is retribution, and retribution there will be. Until after the big party, you won't leave the house.
Sir, would it be possible for me to be excused to continue preparing for lunch?
Yes, Rob.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Charlie. You didn't ask to be excused.
I'm just getting
You did not ask to be excused. You sit down and you then say, "May I be excused, sir?"
May I be excused, sir?
No.
I mean, we're doing our best. As the public face of the staff, me and Charlie are doing our best, and the problem is that the job isn't being helped by Mr. Edgar. Like he said, we're a big machine. Well, surely, like in the 21st century at least, the oil of the machine is politeness and platitudes and stuff, and we're supposed to be in a more polite, hierarchical society, and he's at a please and thank you bypass. And he's like, get that thing. And like, you know, you just don't, then you don't want to do it. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go out to the pub and I'm going to get lashed.
Bring on the music!
To cope with the service at tonight's dinner, Mr. Edgar has ordered that most of the servants will support the footman above stairs. 1,000 pieces of silver, china and crystal must reach the table, each piece at the correct time.
Looks like 2 minutes consommé. De boeuf.
The cost of wine and food to be served at this one meal would have been twice the annual wage of a hall boy.
I've come about the dress my lady will be wearing for the dinner party. Do you know why I'm asking? I'm thinking about the flowers, what to do about flowers for the dining room table. Just look at the size of the room. Everything's big, everything's got to be enormous. If I come like this, sorry, I'm going to try again. I might do it.
Consommé,
sorbet,
sorbet, sorbet, fish, venison, and
no, you've done it all the wrong way around.
Replaced and been no problem at all.
And it's, if that's what Lady Olive Cooper sits down, it's no slight on anybody. But
Isn't it?
With the pink borders.
With the pink bodice.
With the pink borders.
I think we'll go for that.
Go for that.
Yeah.
would you like to sit, my lady?
Mr. Edgar's never going to get them glasses right, is he? For wine.
Bless him.
The preparation of sorbets or ice creams requires a delicate blend of chemistry and physical effort. For the mixture to set, the sorbetière will need to be turned regularly for approximately 1 hour before serving.
Oh, it's a nightmare, this thing.
A plentiful supply of saltpetre should also be on hand to increase the chilling effect of the ice.
Sprinkle a bit of that, 1 layer of that, what do you call it, ice again, right? And again, and just mix it.
The worst thing we can do is get all our names muddled up and call them all the wrong thing. And send them all in the wrong order.
Well, there's
just sit with the wrong
there's
people.
two.
We're terrified, but we're keeping a very brave face on it. But it won't go badly, will it, Morrison?
Not with the attention to detail downstairs.
Oh yeah, that's lovely, isn't it? Yeah.
It's shiny.
Yeah. And you got all the buttons, nasty buttons on it.
Yeah, it's very smart. It's like your posh apron as well.
On formal occasions, footman's hair must receive special treatment. Soap should be combed through so tooth marks show in even rows. Then violet powder or flour carefully applied.
But it looks ropey though, quite frankly.
There's more chance of platting fog than getting in any sort of order, isn't there?
I like it.
Done.
Good servants were always in demand at other houses.
Okay, done.
Visiting guests might lure them away with offers of more money. So putting on a good show mattered as much to the staff as to the family.
Too dirty.
That's it. You can all go.
This is a huge personal challenge. I'm not normally a hugely confident person. I think that if I can manage to do this and it comes off well, that this will be a huge personal boost to my confidence.
On public occasions, the servant's ability to work in harmony will be never more pressing.
2.
Be mindful, however, that those more used to holding a mop will need careful tutelage before coming face to face with their betters.
Good evening, sir, madam.
Evening.
That's probably.
Evening, sir. Good evening, thank you.
Can I have your name, please, sir?
Lord Deeds. Lord Deeds.
Lord
Good evening,
Deeds.
sir.
Good evening. Great fan of yours.
Lord and Lady Steele of Akewood.
How are you? Lovely to meet you. Good to see you.
Lady
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Welcome from Anderston.
Forward to
We're
this
very
enormously.
pleased you've come.
We are
very
too.
Nice.
Thank you
Very
so
nice.
much
Good
for inviting
evening.
us, Sir John.
We're delighted to have you here.
It's fabulous.
I need to have everything there. Right. Put it into the platinum.
The Right Honourable David Mellor.
Hello. My husband, Sir John.
Sir John,
Welcome
pleasure
to
to
Pleased to see you.
Thank you very much. Very nice of
do you
you
know
to invite me.
else?
Yes,
Oh, yes.
some of them, of course, are part of the same political world as
Persuasion, yes.
myself. Yes,
Right.
yes.
Would you like to?
And, thank you very much indeed, sir.
Right. Now you want to swim, of course, as well. Okay. That is my fault as well, yeah?
Milady, dinner is served.
And Mr. Little Granger is taking in Lady Steele. Mr. Beath is going in with Baroness Bentinck. Baron Bentinck taking in Lady Maddock.
Hello. I think that's the right way round.
Mr. Inskip, Lady de la Rue.
Right, you just stay here.
Right.
Don't take any crap and wait for the next course.
Right.
All right?
Those serving at table must be invisible to guests at all times. The chef de cuisine must employ his skills to ensure that each dish is ready at the correct time.
But even the Burns report, and I repeat this, agreed that hunting, killing foxes with hounds is still the most humane way and the quickest.
Two talented men, but one really, in the end, outshone the other.
Well, this is very much a golden period for it's a liberal resurgence in this period, and I think in a lot of ways it's it's the foundations of the modern Liberal Party.
Everything came together.
Kenny pours syrup down Lord Steele's arm.
And most of them, because everybody lives.
Shortly followed by a fork falling off someone's tray as we were emptying the things. So Trisha just walks up to it and boots it out of the dining hall down across the marble floor.
Hello? It's gone down a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, well.
It'll be alright.
Well, yeah. That's good. Oh my God, it's great.
Yeah. Take something, Michelle. I'm just full.
Stop thinking about food. Serve them.
French cuisine wasn't new to Britain, but a more flamboyant style was being embraced by the upper classes, and the sheer artistry of their chefs was coming to the fore.
Monsieur, I really enjoyed that course.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Royston.
Sorbets, warm oysters on seaweed, sole in cream and butter sauce, typify the social bait that brought the great and the good to the table.
Kelly, more coke? Come on, here we go. On y va. Now I'm not going to have a big break.
Good.
Right, for the moment you can go with that, yeah?
Whenever you're ready.
Although the evening is going well, Kelly has tonight decided to quit. The second person to have found life too hard as an Edwardian scullery maid.
At the end of the day, you come back to this room and you're on your own, and it is just very lonely. It's just a lonely thing. I'm used to being around family and my fiancé, and I really miss him. A lot of the girls go through the same thing. They all cry and go through a miserable time, but I'm just not as strong as them. I can't do it. I can't stay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I must announce the arrival of an 1876 Tokai as our pudding wine.
Oh,
the wine connoisseurs may dribble at this stage. Go ahead, please.
Billy was only 63 with that wine.
They've unearthed it from Berry Brothers. It's 2 of 12 bottles in the world. We must have done something right.
Red Olive Cooper soup.
The mistake we made was to allow the Labour representatives.
I wasn't thinking that this was our dinner party. I was thinking that this was Mandelstam's dinner party. Everybody was taking equal pleasure in its success, and my job was to be the dressed-up doll and to sort of waft through in the Cinderella way. And it was an extremely pleasing experience.
After dinner, Gentlemen will wish to discuss matters of little or no interest to women. A skilled hostess will judge the correct time at which to lead her female guests away for more light-hearted conversation.
Great houses had long acted as discreet political forums, away from the public stage of Westminster. By 1906, discussions over port and cigars would have centred on the proposed reforms of the now all-powerful Liberal Party, reforms many men like Sir John had begun to fear.
And the hundreds of these houses that have been raised are a monument to, or a missing monument, to overtaxation over the years.
But yes, it's a pittance compared to the wealth that many people are fortunate enough to enjoy.
If aristocracy in any society keeps too tight a hold, as perhaps the French did, then it comes back to bite them in the end. And
we're not talking about aristocracy here, we're talking about merchants.
We are.
Who become ennobled. And I mean, this house is a monument to the British ability, even within the restraints of that time, of being to some degree a meritocracy.
The ability of the upper classes to adapt to a changing world will become essential to their survival. In the coming years, the plight of the working classes would take centre stage in British politics.
As Engels once said, you know, you can't agitate a man with a full belly. There were plenty of people around with empty bellies. They were capable of being organised by the trade union movement, and the Labour Party piggybacked power by being the political wing of the trade union movement.
It was your friend Edward Grey who pointed out that if the Tory party represented the haves and the Labour Party represented the have-nots, then the outlook for the Liberal Party was pretty poor.
These political changes would come to affect the attitudes of working people. In the coming weeks, the expectations of the Manderson servants will also begin to change.
What am I going to get if you're drinking out of David Mellor's glass?
Pissed? I mean, what else do you need?
Numerous.
Look at all them decanters we've got over there to finish. So. What's this red wine anyway in these glasses? It's minging. Is it port?
No, just come. Sir. Just come. When the guests left, the family said to me, "Oh, do congratulate Chef. It was really exquisite tonight." Well, I felt like a dad. Just happy with his kiddos. They were so sweet. Such an effort. We can't be Edwardians all the time. And I couldn't help but congratulating them and telling them how wonderful they were. I might regret it tomorrow, mind you, but tonight, I didn't.
So John and I...
Your high and mightiness, I feel like shit, and it's mainly because of you.
Without us, sir, working here, this household would fall apart and there'd be no climbing the ladder for Sir John.
No.
I don't know whether Mr. Edgar's going to last, God love him.
Now I understand how the French Revolution started.
If you want to find out more about life in the Edwardian country house and to purchase the accompanying book priced £20, go to channel4.com/countryhouse or call 0870 1234 344. Tomorrow night at 9, ER.
People upstairs were absolute bastards. They walked all over the little people who were downstairs. And for them to kick these people in the teeth when they were holding them up, to me, is bang out of order.
"6 a.m. Sunday morning. Time to get up for work. It's now 4 weeks since the servants arrived at the house, and they haven't had a single day off.
Ken, sir, time to get up.
Hall boys, like Kenny, were often expected to work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week.
In my normal life, I'm a care assistant and I look after people who have brain injuries.
Ken. Second call.
It isn't easy work, but this is just the hardest work I've ever done in all my life. Empty chamber pot, sir.
Yes, Ken, just go through.
Mr. Edgar the butler would never expect to empty his own pot. That was a job for the Cinderella of the male servants, traditionally known as boots. Housemaid Rebecca works a 120-hour week, for which she would have been paid in modern terms just £28. Second housemaid Jessica has 20 fires to tend, as well as her cleaning jobs.
We're working just forever.
We're working constantly, and the only time we have off is when we finally collapse at bedtime. I'm having breathing problems from the dust on the floor. I mean, I'm climbing the stairs and I feel like I'm 90 years old.
All we have to look forward to in a day is bedtime. And even that bedtime is tainted by the fact that we have to get up in about 5 hours' time.
And so far, people seem to forget that we are actually human.
Not just one, but 2 scullery maids have already given up and left. So kitchen maid Antonia has to do all the dirty work. By 1906, although 87% of the population was working class, it was becoming increasingly hard to find servants.
Wanted scullery maid. Must be hard-working and strong.
Housekeepers like Mrs. Davis found themselves competing with offices and shops, offering better hours, cleaner work and time off.
Wage £12 per annum.
Searching for scullery maid, must love washing up and hate moaning. Apply quickly to Mandiston. No money, no time off.
Everyone in the house has a rule book based on servants' manuals of the day. In each, it very clearly states:
time off will only be given at the discretion of the master. Those seeking time off should apply to the butler.
We discussed many subjects in which we are interested, said Mr. J. Ramsay MacDonald. Trade disputes, workmen's compensation, unemployed, old age pensions, miners 8 hours, right? So that means that something in 1906 was being done to get us some time off.
May I have some bread, please? Do you know what the miners' conditions are?
They get to have a bath, sir.
They'll have a tin bath in their living room, and Pa will go in and have a bath, and then his eldest son, and then his second, third, fourth, fifth son.
Have you been looking through their windows again?
Well, I know my family who worked down the mines had a bath every day, because I always used to ask about it. My granddad used to tell me.
But with this new light, sir, shown in the paper, we decided to push for 2 half days. We've realised what we deserve. And any less is unfair.
The staff have been working very hard, and although the rule book says that they have time off when tasks are over, the basic problem has been that tasks are never over. So free time has been scarce because we're always behind with our tasks.
Hey boys, walk on. Walk on.
On Sunday, everyone's expected to go to church. Sir John and Lady Olive Cooper are in their 4th week living as Edwardian high society with Sister Avril and sons Jonty and Guy.
I am Milady, and it is curious, if people treat you as Milady, how you grow into the position. Sir John's taken to his title like a duck to water, and in fact, I think it's really brought out the best in his personality. You see, I even call him Sir John now.
Sunday worship allowed the wealthy to reinforce their position in the local community by demonstrating their charity, a charity that didn't always begin at home.
I've decided that if I really was a kitchen maid and I had no choice and I had to do this, then I would leave and become a common street-walking prostitute.
And so Onesimus must face the consequences.
You wouldn't be disgraced if you had umpteen fags and got drunk every night. And also, you wouldn't have sore feet because you'd be on your back all day.
But as a person in Christ.
Antonia might have been more grateful for her job in the days before the welfare state. Then, those who fell on hard times needed men like Sir John to save them from the workhouse.
As a landlord, I would expect to be as benevolent as I possibly could be. I'm becoming an educated patron. I'm beginning to understand what was required of the patron in the Edwardian period.
Sir John and Lady Olive Cooper wish to announce that they will be hosting a charity bazaar at Mandeston in support of the Friends of the Knoll Hospital, and all are welcome to attend that charity bazaar, which will be on Saturday the 22nd of September from midday.
It will be the job of the servants to run the Olive Cooper's fete in 2 weeks' time. For the less privileged among them, there's a 2-mile walk back to Mandeston.
Taking the air to and from church is recommended to keep lower servants healthy and strong.
This is like our time off.
Our
You walk
own
to church
language.
is your time off. Morning off, walking to church, and back.
And then to carry on with our chores.
No, not just carry on, catch up on the chores you haven't done on your morning off, walking to church.
Do you reckon we're going to get any time? Weren't we supposed to have Sunday afternoons off?
That's what I thought.
Believe it when I see it.
Well, you won't see it.
All right, we say grace. For what we're about to receive, we're truly thankful, Lord. Amen. You may be seated.
Our capricious masters have worn us out, sir. So we need some time off, really. You know, what's actually happening on a structured basis for time off?
On a structured basis, why don't you produce something that one can actually look at? So, we'll have a chart.
Shall we draw the chart up now, shall we?
Sorry.
All right, do it.
Let's do it. Excuse me, sir. Right then.
Do you want your apple blackberry crumble?
Yes, please.
No.
Just taking the
So, when would you like your half day off?
When would I want?
Like a half day off, sir. Given all things equal, sir, and all things should be equal, sir, in our little...
Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm not talking of equality. There is not equality. I am still the butler. I am still the head of the household. You're the first footman. Rob is the second footman.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
And dinner's in half an hour, so when would you like your half day off, with all respect, sir? And I'm not trying to question or undermine your authority, I'm just asking you. Because you're first, that's why I'm asking you first, you see.
Good.
If anything, I'm underlining your authority, sir. When would you like your half day off?
I'm glad to hear that.
You have to take the same as we do, sir.
No, I don't.
That makes it unfair, though,
No, I don't. I'm the butler, and this, I've told you before, this is not a democracy.
Sir.
Not making me do anything at all.
Well, if you're not going to put our point across as we want it put across,
Then
why don't you let
do it.
us put it across, sir?
Because you're undermining my authority and I will not accept that.
Without us, sir, working here, this household would fall apart and there'd be no climbing the ladder for Sir John.
No.
Or my lady.
The greasy pole.
Or Lady Anson. Without us, sir, this household is nothing more than a coal shed.
That is a fantastic thought.
That's true. This building stands on our shoulders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We hold it up.
I don't know whether Mr. Edgar's going to last, God love him. I really like him and everything. I don't think he's doing I think he's doing a good job at scaring everyone half to death. And he seems very up on discipline and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, the staff are really unhappy.
Time off for me is that important that I would kidnap Jonty for a ransom. No, it's just important. I think everybody needs it. And if needs be, if we could get the support, then I'd personally say stop working for them and see how they fare on their own.
It has to change, and if it doesn't, they're not going to have any staff. I can promise you that.
I'm very conscious that I'm at the top of the tree and that for other people it may be a much less enjoyable experience. But I do notice that to some extent this is an attitude of mind, and that, for instance, my maid, Morrison, who's in a role of serving me even to the extent of putting on my stockings for me, is loving every minute of it. And she always has a merry laugh, always sees things positively, and she's been wonderful.
I would say the lady's maid must have been a very, very contented woman in the Edwardian era. My lady's been very generous to me. A pair of earrings that she didn't like, a cashmere cardigan that was actually a bit long for her. Not only have I got what I would class as the top job in the house, I have two wonderful top servants to work with, Mr. Egg and Mrs. Davis. I feel I'm not looking at it like everybody else is.
As lady's maid, you are the confidant of your mistress, and you must never betray that confidence below stairs. However, you may inform her of any misconduct among the servants.
The upper servants have been called in by Sir John and Lady Olive Cooper to review the programme for the bazaar or fete.
We've got the preliminary programme here from the fete
Do sit down,
committee.
everyone.
And they've suggested to us that they will have gates opening, an opening ceremony, cricket match, brass band, a tea tent, arts and needlework, oysters, various stalls, lace making, games, a fortune teller, punch and judy, teddy bears picnic, and an award ceremony at the end. Did anyone else have any good thoughts?
Well, we thought of stalls for competitions, like a coconut shy.
What about...
Oh, guess the weight. We had to
guess
guess the weight
of
of the cake.
Yes.
We wondered if your cake, one of your
Number
lovely
of
cakes...
sweets in a jar, that type of thing.
I think you had a nice idea, Morrison. What was that?
Yes, my lady, was giving these ladies an opportunity to have their hair done in an Edwardian hairstyle and wear an Edwardian hat.
If any of the lower servants have anything that they have as a particular skill that they want to contribute...
Provided it doesn't cut across their duties.
Who knows, we might have a juggler or a fire eater or a stilt walker amongst the servants.
We're ready to be amazed.
Lady Olive Cooper is taking gifts to the local cottage hospital that will benefit from money raised at the fete.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Bye.
In my normal life, I'm a part-time casualty doctor, so I was going back to my normal work in many ways.
It's really rather fun, isn't it? Yes.
As a woman of standing, it is fully expected that you will partake in charitable works. This way, without causing distress to your family, you may do something useful.
I'm not very well today, and it's so hard being ill in a place like this. It's not an environment that creates health. You just want comfort and coziness and be able to relax and not feel so trapped.
In the event of illness, the master is not obliged to provide medicine or medical attendance. A lengthy indisposition may result in dismissal.
Hello. Hello. And this is Bill. Lovely. Right. Oh, right. Well, you should just start away, I think.
In these circumstances, you do feel a little bit like Princess Diana, and you can see that just by virtue of who you were and the image you project, you could actually do some good.
Thank you. Smell that. Smell lovely. It's lavender. It's lavender.
It is quite pleasing to feel that people value you so highly that even your appearance in their lives can make a difference.
Hospitals only existed where charitable ladies were willing to raise the money to build them.
Would you like one of our... Yes. Oh, this is quite near mine, isn't it?
Where there was no hospital, the poor had to suffer the degradation of the workhouse.
Oh, yes. And people lower down. But it come around once a year. And
Of the women condemned to the workhouse, 1 in 3 had spent their lives in domestic service.
You're right, honey. I just feel bad because I've not been doing anything. But that's all I wanted this morning, you know, and you feel crap and you just want a hug. You don't want to be ragged out of bed and told that you've got to work anyway. Even worse was that I just thought, shit, yeah, I was selfish in my and got out and tried to. I want to be at home in front of the telly with fresh orange juice and just comfy clothes, bed socks, pyjamas, and just, you know, like your comfort food when you're at home and you've got your comfort food. That's all I want. Me in bed.
Morrison was telling me on the way back that one of the ladies was saying that our visit had actually altered her perception. She'd been feeling a bit depressed about things, and since we'd come, she was going to make more of an effort to get up and get out of bed each morning, and even in only a small way, we seem to have lifted their lives. That's really very nice feeling.
One of the best things about going to the dairy is actually getting out the house, because I mean the last time I went out was Tuesday. I think something's going to have to be done. I just think people from the 21st century can't cope with the physical strains of the job. Jess and Becky, Mr. Edgar, Mrs. Davis, they're really ill.
I've learned that I, personally, am not as strong or capable as I thought I was. I thought I'd be able to do it easily. But it's much, much harder than I thought. And it's the fact that you haven't got the time off, you know, to take a break in between or something different to think about. You don't have anything to think about except the work in this house.
I don't want to be ill. You know, it's the last thing I want. But I feel like it'll be held against me. I'm making other people work harder.
My mum's been thinking I was going to die because I wrote some pretty suicidal letters home to her saying that I fear that I'm going to die and be withered and spindly when I get home.
It's just an adaptation of lawn tennis played inside.
They're constantly saying upstairs that they understand how downstairs feel, but they haven't really got a clue.
see how they can not have any idea what goes on there. I don't know what they think we're doing down here. They must have some idea about it being cack. I put the tray down and, yes, I might have huffed a bit, but like, quietly, it wasn't like being dramatic or anything. And Lady Oliver goes, "You quite all right, Robin? What's she trying to make out? That I'm going to turn around there and say, no, actually, your high and mightiness, I feel like shit, and it's mainly because of you." I mean, and then they start laughing then. All of them, didn't they? Jonty's little girly laugh. And then they all start laughing then, because they think it's hilarious. They've got these, you know, trussed-up idiots following me around with bloody trays full of crap that some mad French chef has cooked for them. And it's all just a big joke, but it's not that funny when you're tired and hungry, and all you want to do is plunge a knife through the bags. And, you know, we're quite tooled up there. I could, quite easily. It's just what order I'd pick them off in.
I'm sure we'd look like we're just the most awful aristocrats and toffee-nosed, you know, guys who just don't care anything about them. And I do, but we're trying to recreate how it was, and a master would not, you know, my shoes need polishing, but I don't have any polish, and they won't let me, the servants won't give me polish because they don't think it's dignified for me to polish my own shoes. And indeed, an Edwardian gentleman wouldn't have polished his own shoes. So, but I feel like I can't ask them to do it because they're really, really overpressed.
Monsieur Doubiard can no longer cope with a shortage of staff in his kitchen. In defiance of the rules, he decides to bring the problem to the attention of Lady Olive Cooper.
Come and show me now.
The mistress of the house should never be required to go below stairs. It is the duty of her upper servants to shield her from domestic trivia.
Neither Lady Olive Cooper nor her sister Miss Anson know where the kitchens are.
Start from one end, and we're going down through every cupboard and every bit.
This is Carolina.
What is this one?
Where we wash pots and we wash plates. Dinner, the ovens, coffee, ready for us.
This is a lot to take in, isn't it? Yes.
Oh, Anna.
Oh no, we replace them every day, but I mean, we haven't got the time.
It's perfectly apparent that the below-stairs staff are crumbling from exhaustion. And I haven't even seen what the conditions that they're working in under are, because it has been put to me that they don't want me to come down and see this sort of conditions because it would embarrass them. And I understand that. They'd like me to see it only when it's up and running and tickety-boo and everything's fine. But everything isn't fine and the staff are exhausted. Thank you. Thank you. I think that it has brought matters effectively to a head. I must say I'm shocked by the conditions that you're having to work under. They must have some time off. What about time off for the staff on a regular basis?
Well, I know you hide staff distresses from me, and bless you, Edgar, you shouldn't do this. I really need to know what's going on.
Yes, sir, but as a butler, I can't really bring every time somebody moans and groans, because then I'd spend all my time telling you about things.
Well, there is no sense at all in driving people into the ground.
No, sir.
One, it's humane, and two, purely selfishly, I would say we get no service from people when they're on their backs. You're at your limit. We just simply need more hands to the pump, I think.
Well, I think we do, sir.
The whole thing revolves around staffing levels, and I have suggested that we need another maid, and of course we need a replacement for the scullery maid.
You shall never father a child now, that's for sure.
You really don't want to make me weigh myself.
Oh, I'm as sterile as a steer.
It's grand, okay.
Fine. It's like I never had any.
We better call it after you, boy.
Sir John has decreed that his servants will now get a half-day off a week.
Left arm up!
Left arm out!
To the right!
But the house still has to be run while they're away.
Now go, lattice.
Time was given off at their bidding the day they wanted and at the times they wanted. And I think that was wrong, because it almost means the household is being run by the servants for the servants, when in fact the household is run by the servants for upstairs.
While the upper servants were left with all the chores, the lower servants took themselves out to dine at the best hotel in town.
I swear they're not going to know what hit them.
With only a week to go before the fete, Jessica and Rebecca are making bath bags to sell at their stalls.
Hey! Sweets, cakes, potions, tarot cards, and bath salts.
Cool. I'm really looking forward to the bazaar. It's going to be a different day, which is always good here. And, you know, mixing with the family as well, that's not something that happens often at all.
There's been a rumour that Sir John is going to allow his servants to invite their own families to the fete.
Family is what keeps you going, really. And knowing that no matter what goes on here, what arguments or, you know, ups and downs go on, you've got people back home that will support you.
Yesterday we had a day off and it was absolutely lovely, and we've all come back with recharged batteries.
The upper servants all stayed here yesterday, and we all just feel really guilty because they stayed and they didn't have to stay. Well, no, I don't feel guilty actually, but I could do if I really felt that way inclined.
They bragged about being in the hotel, and they had a meal and they had malt whiskies, and they were really running with their tails up in the air. And I could see everything was really going to crumble if somebody didn't make some kind of stand.
Sir John has summoned all his staff to the main hall.
I was going to call you here today for nothing but pleasure. There are times when I look at my staff and I swell with pride, and there are other occasions when I could cry with despair, and this is one of them. I think those of you who were involved know what happened last night. My wife and I were due to go out to dinner in Dunse, to the hotel in Dunse, and I'm appalled to find that if we had gone to the hotel that we were due to go to, we would have been met with the happy sight of our lower staff carousing in that hotel. The happy moment is that I announce for the senior staff that at my expense their family will be brought to Manderston on the occasion of the fete. This does not now include the junior staff. There are people here who should be ashamed of themselves, and I hope you will listen to Mr. Edgar. He will explain to you where you've gone wrong.
Thank you, Sir John.
Sir John, I'm sorry, I think you're speaking out of turn, and I really don't think you know the full story.
Antonia, I don't talk to junior staff. If you have something to say to me, you say it through Mr. Edgar. I understand that you have a problem. It's not appropriate for you to address me directly.
You stupid bastard. He can't bribe us with seeing our family, though.
Let's get downstairs and talk about it.
You can't keep passing your opinion onto the family because it's just not fair.
What makes you think I pass my opinion on the family?
Because you've told us that you do.
So you did tell them? Much like you told them about
I
Kenny
refuse to the rest of the evening. This is crap. This is utter crap.
They said that your family, upper servants' family, were allowed to the fete, but ours aren't. How can they bribe us with seeing our family?
Can I come in?
My family isn't coming to the fete, Antonia.
Can we all please sit down?
Yes, okay.
Can we all please sit down?
Unbelievable. Yeah. And it's just the fact is, amongst us there seems to be no unity. Yeah. And I'm sorry, Miss Morris, I just feel like if that's how the message got there,
Well, get off your high horse for a start. That isn't how the message got there, right?
Somebody's jumped to conclusions because of this strange Chinese whisper service that goes on between the upstairs and downstairs, where no other facts get across.
We left there at 9:15. We were all back here for like half 9, 10 o'clock, and everyone was in bed by 11 because we knew that we had to be up for work the next day.
I think Sir John should take it back. I don't think what he said is right. And I want everybody to know this, but I will not redeem myself for something where I've done no wrong. And neither will anybody round this table. And when he had great respect off me, Sir John did actually, as much as I've whinged and moaned about him being a toff and everything else, and in one sentence he's just lost it, every single last bit of it. And then that's sad, man. Look what he's done. I mean, this isn't good, this isn't nice. I mean, everybody was dying to see the families, Jess, Antonia. You know what I mean? Rob, Trish, everybody would have done.
It's like being back at school, really, and being severely bullied, which was actually quite hurtful.
With Miss Morrison, you definitely feel like she's been a bit of a traitor, in all honesty. So I'm going to speak to her and see what she says. She'll probably strike me like a viper, as she so often threatens to do to people who call her Morrison.
Ladies' maids were often ostracised because of their closeness to the family. Antonia's outburst is a sackable offence. She's been called to Mr. Edgar's office.
For the staff, there are ups and downs in knuckling down to the Edwardian experience. It's easy for me, of course, because I'm at the top of the pile and I look on. But it's hard for me too, because I look on with a benevolent eye and I'm concerned for them. The root of the problem with the servants seems to be their expectations as employees. Perfectly reasonable expectations in our era that simply wouldn't have occurred to them in Edwardian times. But the senior servants are different from the junior servants. They're from a different era. They have a different understanding of labour.
Sit still, Kenny.
It may just be that every generation thinks that the previous generation doesn't know what hard work is.
Antonia, I would ask you to just write a short letter to Sir John saying you're sorry what happened.
I haven't regretted what I've done because at the time I felt my reasons for doing it were completely valid and fair, but it probably wouldn't have been done in Edwardian times, so I will gladly write to him because I have no feeling of hatred or malice or anything towards the family. The family I have the utmost respect for them, so that shouldn't be a problem.
It's fine. Thank you, Antonia.
I just have to say, though, that seeing my family, it may be a privilege, but it's also a basic right.
It is a basic right,
Thank
yes. You. It is a basic right. I agree with you. Antonia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may go, Antonia.
Lady Olive Cooper is to meet her new third housemaid, Erica Ravitz.
Would you like to have a seat, Mrs.
Yes,
Davis?
thank you.
As this is likely to be quite a long interview with Erica, shall we invite her to sit down?
Yes, please, my
We wouldn't
lady.
normally, but you may sit down on
Yes.
the stage. Mrs. Davis has explained that the hours of work are very long. There's no labour rights in the household at all. There's no off-duty rights as such.
Ashes fall down there.
Monsieur Dubiard is introducing his long-awaited scullery maid, Ellen Beard, to the kitchen.
Twice a day, at least, okay? Early in the morning, and after that in the evening before to go to bed. I mean, you got as well it's a mixture of it's sort of a sheep. I mean, it looks very disgusting.
Yeah, it does.
But it is flour, salt, vinegar, water. It does take the grease out of the things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool. That's amazing.
I can't wait for him to get in here after some, because they're all quite cracking looking, actually. The one who's coming, who lives in Devon, she's a bit of a farm girl, so maybe she'll have the butch, no-holds-barred approach to female and male interaction.
Like many Edwardian junior maids, Ellen and Erica will have to share a bed.
Yep. Not arguing with two maids sleeping in the same bed. So where we put the bed? What I've come up with is this rota where each maid has to spend a day keeping me happy, right, in rude ways. I'm going to give them a great deal of leeway and try and help them along, really, because it'd be quite sad if they left as well.
The day of the fete has arrived.
The bazaar is a wonderful opportunity for us as servants because we can go out and enjoy ourselves. People from the village will be coming and we'll all be able to dress up in our Sunday best, and I think we'll have a lovely time. It's probably the best day of the whole of the time that I've been here. We have had a tremendous amount of rain. It's been dripping off all the marquees and over our shoes with water. And of course we're on grass and it's like a sponge.
I'm glad we're doing this together, Rob. It makes me, you know, pull together as a social unit that crosses petty social barriers. Exactly. I guess I'll probably be only allowed to drink Pimm's, so, you know. Really? Ale is not for people of my class, I'm afraid. That's it. I know. See, there are perks to being downstairs, aren't there? Go, Frankie, yeah.
Well, I've been concerned for the welfare of the staff. I'm not an ogre. I'm not a tyrant. And their hurt hurts me.
Oh, I think there's enough cover as well, really, if people cram in the tents. Don't mind having a cup of tea and being packed in a bit, so it should be all right, whatever the weather, I think.
Sir John has decided to lift his earlier ban. Now, upper and lower servants will see their families at the fete.
Wait! I've got to find the end of it, you Burke!
When times are really bad, the good times are even better. I'm looking forward to the chance to go out and see my mum and Nan, because Mum's been worriting a great deal, wondering whether I was going to go home actually and pack it all in.
There struts Charlie.
Oh, I think he's going off to find the megaphone. I think I need to practice a megaphone.
Do not start with my husband and I. She was doing this in her sleep last night, I should tell you.
Oh.
12 o'clock was the last rendition.
It's going to be a good day, I think. It's going to be really, really hectic. I really hope everybody can really pull together now. The families are coming, which is great.
With the new maids tackling the routine chores, the other servants can get on and prepare for their stalls. Becky and Jess have made Mandeston peppermint creams. Rob is bottling his own footman's brew. And Mrs. Davis has corked up some evil potions for her smell the bottle competition.
Oh my God! Ow!
Ladies and gentlemen, Sir John and Lady Olive Cooper.
Sir John and I are delighted to see so many of you here today at the Mandeston Charity Bazaar. Now today we want to raise sufficient money to buy a special bed for our local hospital. I urge you all to dig deep into your pockets, spend lavishly, and without further ado, I now declare this charity bazaar well and truly open.
Fates brought the wealthy face to face with people who would never normally be invited to the house. It was a rare chance for the classes to mingle.
The people in the community are an absolute delight. I can't imagine owning Mandeston without wanting to involve as many local people as possible.
Hello. You look at me. Getting up.
Oh, you chill out. Are you alright? What's up with you? Are you alright now?
I don't feel it.
It's alright, it's alright. Hey, baby,
You look like fun.
No, it's alright.
You're right.
Oh, you're alright. Oh, what are you crying for?
Oh, I've been so waiting for you. You look really, really well.
I don't feel
I thought you were going to be like emaciated.
I know, I said you're going to think I'd look a bit round.
Thank you, Mum. You have to keep using my hug.
Let's try plum jelly, always a favourite.
It is recommended the mistress devote her charitable efforts to encouraging local people to improve their domestic skills.
Oops. Inspect for clarity and firmness. The smell.
This way she may benefit from her investment by improving standards among her potential servants.
That's good. Try that again.
That is very nice.
That is superb. We could have joint firsts.
An honourable mention for the quince.
On occasions like these, servants will be expected to observe the strictest formality. Familiar behaviour of any kind reflects badly on the house.
Mr. Patch, if you promise to look after the baby.
This fortune teller knows who's paying for this.
Do I have to cross your palm? Do you have change?
Oh, that's lovely. Raspberry.
You see, he's not seen me for such a long time, have you, darling? No, he won't.
It's time for a sleep, Grandma. It's honeycomb. It's lovely. And wild sweet.
I'm helping you
yeah.
around, isn't it? And spun and dyed, and then hand knitted. Well,
And you're going to meet someone. You haven't spoken to Mr. Edgar, have you, today?
the next 4 weeks is going to be sheer chaos. You have to pick up the sword and wield it yourself. But as long as you get through the next month,
It's the next month.
the next month is going to be quite difficult.
We are the remnants of the National Clarion organisation, which was immense at the turn of the last century, and we look back at our origins with great pride.
The Clarion Cycling Club was founded in 1894 to spread the socialist message. They fought for the distribution of wealth and for shorter hours for working people.
Got a drink? Got a drink?
Oh, well, we'd love to. We'd love to. Thank you very much.
What do you stand for then?
We stand for socialism.
And justice, and social
and
justice.
justice.
I am right
Will
on
we ever
your
have a government,
side.
do you think?
The wealthy of this world have got it all, haven't
It is,
they?
isn't it?
And we wouldn't want to deny them, but we need a bit of equality, a bit of sharing.
If you take out a speech later, I will cheer on your side, and that is an absolute promise.
Will we get any flack, do you think?
I hope so. But I'll tell you now, I will stand right behind you for that. All right.
I've got a young man, perhaps a bit too lippy, here, gift of the gab, never shuts up.
I hope you're not going to get my staff into trouble.
I sincerely hope I'm not. The important thing is that everybody has a right
Of
to...
course.
to
But if you take the value of this place, what, £8 million in total?
Probably, I wouldn't like to put a figure on it.
Let's sell it all.
let's take all my capital away, and we spread it through 8 million people. They each have a pound, and then the 300 people. Let me finish. The 300 people I employ are all out on the street. I'm a very benevolent employer, but these pinko edges I wouldn't allow, I'm afraid.
Like it or not, men like Sir John were being forced to become better employers.
Hey, Max! Get set! Go! The people's flag is deeply spread, it's shrouded of martyr dead.
By 1908, the voice of socialism had entered British politics. In the years to come, it would spur on many labour reforms. But no Edwardian servant would have dared sing the socialist anthem in the presence of the master.
We'll keep the red flag flying here. Let's raise the red flag, which comes from the British Civil War and is about everybody standing.
Well, you're not joining with us, sir. Join with us in there. Go on, sir.
I've had enough lip from you chaps.
We'll have him out on Monday.
We did sing the red flag. I was a bit concerned about where they were doing it, with Sir John being in view and able to see whether we were taking interest or not.
Yeah, I was half panicky as well as to whether there'd be reprisals or get a sacking, because of all the hassle we've just gone through anyway about the time off thing and all the stress and exhaustion everybody's feeling.
Let's have fairness for everybody, equality and justice for the world. Thank you very much.
I think that Clarion are going to unsettle the staff because they have already been unsettled to a point. Because the minute you concede something, then immediately there's a new demand, something else they want. I think it's going to be a struggle right to the end.
She is an absolute stunner. She's a real cracking bird.
I've been getting very angry on behalf of the women of this period.
Jezebel was all sorts of things that are bad in women.
There's good bits and bad bits about being Lady Di. You could end up living in an emotional desert here.
Which is more scary, tonguing you or kissing a dead pig?
If you lived it for any length of time, you'd end up having practically no emotional contact with anybody else. You could end up living in an emotional desert here.
It's 7 weeks since Southampton businessman John Olive Cooper became Sir John Olive Cooper, Master of Manderston.
I think you may have it.
Recently, there has been insubordination and discord among some of his servants. Now he has ordered that the Edwardian standards of his household be tightened and more strictly enforced.
All fires, both upstairs and downstairs, will be lit on time. All meals will need to start on time. All public rooms and private apartments upstairs will be cleaned to the highest standard.
This stricter regime will immediately be put to the test. In 1909, there was no more typical an event for a country house gentleman to host than a shooting party. Over the next 3 days, Sir John and his guests will enjoy the hunting, shooting, and fishing on his estate.
Sir John has also told me that in cases of serious or repeated breaches of discipline, to terminate the employment of any member of staff. The family, too, will engage in this drive towards an Edwardian household. Now you can dismiss.
Thank you, Mr.
Ellen Beard is the new scullery maid at Mandeston. Unlike her two predecessors, she has proved willing to do the tasks required of the lowest-ranking servant in the house.
Ellen in the kitchen is an absolute dreamboat. She is a real hard worker, and Monsieur really is amazed that, you know, because he just loves people that work hard. The atmosphere in the kitchen's really improved, and it's not so much of a chore now.
We have a new scullery maid. And we have a hall boy who's been here some time. Rather rough diamond, if you know what I mean by that. Well, it's a remarkable change. And I think there's quite a lot of honey about now. I feel that's... there's something going on there, sir.
The duties of male servants may on occasion bring them in proximity to female servants. Amorous liaisons are strictly forbidden, so temptation is best avoided. Once their duties are completed, they must not linger, but continue with their work elsewhere.
He wants to learn how to cook, and he seems to be quite determined to do that. Might go to the sense, a woman, maybe?
That's what it is, isn't it?
Well, it might be that, yeah, you never know.
Nothing to do with women.
I think it's got to be watched, that's all, really.
She is an absolute stunner. She's a real cracking bird. I know she's like, not plain, but she's simple. She said she doesn't wear much makeup, and she looks good without it anyway.
Spat it out on the
Yeah,
side.
I shall not use short grain rice again, and I shall not use the assistance of somebody who does not know what they're doing.
When I came here and Kenny answered the door, and I thought, cool, you know, he's a bit of all right. No, that was your fault entirely. And
Okay then, dear Miss Smith, fair enough.
He's really funny. He's really good looking. And I know he'll stick up for me if ever I need anybody to stick up for me, which is really nice.
Sir John's more stringent Edwardian regime will also affect those living above stairs.
There we are, my lady. How's that?
Thank you.
Is that fine?
It's like living in a Milton Boon's romantic novel.
Now, my lady, I'm just going to check the stockings. Yes, they're fine. Right, my lady.
It's a woman's fantasy of clothes and carriages. And judging by my husband's reaction, it's a man's fantasy too, of corsets and crotchless underwear and suspenders.
Before we came to the house, my mother was very much a career woman. The feminine, girly girl side of her, which has been suppressed, perhaps, for so many years, has now come out, and she spends hours happily engrossed in haberdashery and trying on ribbons onto different things and saying things like, does this brooch go with this dress, and all that sort of stuff. And it's impossible to get a word of sense out of her nowadays. Brain's gone to mush, I think.
Lady Olive Cooper's sister, Avril Anson, has a different perspective on life as a privileged Edwardian woman.
I think we'll take the amber.
Come in.
The amber necklace, please. Thank you. How are you this morning?
I'm fine. Morning, Becky. Morning, Miss Marston. Right, Miss Anderson, what are you doing this morning?
I'm cycling.
Oh, right.
We're cycling to Duns Castle.
Right, then. Well, I think we'll tie you here right back, I think.
Yes, please.
For some women, this lifestyle must be absolutely wonderful and very satisfying and very fulfilling. You are an ornament on your husband's arm, and if you are a good hostess and if you're amenable in the bedroom, then you're going to have a very satisfying lifestyle, and you'll do it all in luxury.
There you are, Miss Anderson.
Thank you.
For women that want to go out there in the world, this lifestyle is stultifying. You are not allowed to express yourself, you're not encouraged to get an education or to use your brain for the most minor of tasks. I hadn't anticipated that. I never for a moment thought I would be so constrained by this gilded cage. And I have to get out from time to time. I need the release of being outdoors.
Thank you.
When an Edwardian woman first got on her very first bicycle, it must have been an eye-opening experience. A sense of freedom, decision-making, control, wider horizons, even down to the silliest things like wind in your hair. When I get on that bicycle, I don't want to come back.
Edwardian society viewed unmarried women like Miss Anson with suspicion. Sir John and Lady Olive Cooper are affording her the same status she would have had a century ago, insisting she defers to their wishes in all matters.
The formality is driving me nuts. I have to agree with John, even when he is talking what I consider to be arrant nonsense. He recently expressed his opinion that educating women was a waste of money. John, as you can imagine, is loving every moment here, and he thrives on his status and the trappings that go alongside. It is his dream come true. His orders are carried out without question. No one, not anyone even in his own family, dares to argue with him.
I'm aware that my sister-in-law Averil is champing to do more, and I can understand that it's hard for her to live effectively through my largesse, and hard for me to watch her suffering. But I've come here to do a job of work. I've come here to live as I would have lived. If we change that, again, we water down the experience. And there is simply no point in doing it unless we do it properly.
The servants claim Sir John is being less than proper in his reluctance to eat Edwardian food. Wealthy Edwardians ate offal for breakfast. They enjoyed fatty meat. Unlike their game, so high it was almost rotten. Sir John has insisted on continental breakfasts and the fresh, lean meats of a modern diet.
If the family want Edwardian, then I would give them Edwardian food. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'll stop the restriction. It's a delicacy, the cheeks, they're very tender. I'm going to serve that with some gherkins. In Edwardian times, they used to have some weird food to entertain themselves, to make their life full of expectations. Here we go. You can't have those sort of things.
In correctly run households, all silver must be washed without any piece touching the other. The chef de cuisine must surprise his master with culinary embellishments. All china and glass must be counted in and out, item by item, before and after every meal.
4 main plates.
And all breakages reported and noted. When the gong is rung, it must be gently introduced, so as not to startle the ladies.
Has Monsieur been at work, Edgar?
Yes, Sir John.
He's a man of many parts, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
That's wonderful.
He's a miracle worker, isn't he? What are your favourites, Mr. Raj Singh?
I like the way he prepares fish.
Should the tutor or governess be invited to sit at table, a place must be set to the left of the lowest ranking member of the family.
Monsieur's having one of his joke evenings, isn't he?
One of his days, yes.
like our food more sanitised nowadays, don't we? We like it to come plastic wrapped and from the supermarket with no noticeable resemblance to animals. Oh, this is a very marked resemblance.
Some disguise, isn't it? Well, not when it's on the plate. It's just that it's over there, staring disapprovingly.
It's Monsieur following your instructions. Things should be
More Edwardian.
truly Edwardian, yes. Well, we did
Being hoisted by our own petard this evening, aren't we?
It literally is Edwardian Narnia for them. It's not Edwardian at all. It's just picking the best bits of Edwardian times and the best bits of 2001 and mixing them. They thought it was some conspiracy to upset them, when in actual fact it was just Monsieur trying to cook Edwardian food.
Ah, not much of the head gone then, I see.
Like a bit of nose, would you? Like a bit of snout.
Which is more scary, tonguing you or kissing a dead pig? I'll tell you.
It's meat. Some of it's meat, actually.
It's thinly disguised.
I know he was angry. He felt that maybe it is my fault. Tonight, probably for the first time since I'm here, he breezed out as if we weren't there. In a sense, he doesn't trust me any longer. And that I find very hard.
Discretion is a servant's finest quality. Should they be required to see the family during their most private moments, they must remember that the behaviour of their betters is of no concern to them.
Sir John and Lady Olive Cooper now sleep together quite openly. They used to sleep in separate rooms, but now I don't know why, but obviously I'm not really meant to see that. So I have to avert my eyes as well as do the fire. I think they would have slept together. I think anyone that would have come in early in the morning would have seen them, and then he would have gone to his room whenever the butler would have come for the tea and stuff like that. But I would never say anything. Of course.
Though often arranged or for mutual convenience, marriage among the Edwardian upper classes was a secure institution.
Oh!
Oh, darling.
Look at that. Bang.
Well, I can't possibly see that.
Come on, woman, impress me.
I think I probably could have made an Edwardian woman. I don't think it would be anything like the problem that it's proving for my sister, who is really finding it very tricky. My husband is a natural autocrat, I would say. He would like to be in charge.
Try again. Lean into it.
He thinks that I'm of a similar mind, but actually I'm not. I'm quite passive in many ways.
No.
In 1910, there were less than 1,000 divorces a year in Britain, compared to 100,000 at the end of the 20th century.
Ho! Swing, 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 swing. Yeah!
Oh.
In most cases, men got custody of children, and women were not entitled to any of their husband's money.
Yes, let a girl swing and all that.
But for privileged women, marriage was considered essential to their happiness, and even their sanity.
Ho!
Lower servants, however, could not marry, and fraternizing with the opposite sex was forbidden. In spite of these restrictions, half of all illegitimate children born in 1911 were born to women in service. This only strengthened the belief that, like children, the lower orders needed strict moral guidance.
It's difficult for Kenny and I because we can't actually get any closer than we are now because obviously I share a bedroom with Erica and Kenny sleeps in the hall. So it really has been very innocent. I mean, it's just like kissing and cuddling, and that's been it. Which it's nice in a way because you don't get that anymore.
We must get on average about 30 minutes a day, you know what I mean, where it's just me and Ellen and nobody else. And then that's beginning to get right up my nose.
Oh, yeah, I've got some coal on your face.
And you've got Mr. Egger walking in every now and again, and you can't even sit there with your arms around each other, or it's driving me mad.
If a footman and a housemaid were caught kissing, they'd be sacked. But if guests were caught during the night, a female or a male guest going into a female single person's room, nothing would have happened. One only needs to consider the king and his various mistresses. I mean, they were famous. He went on holidays with them to Baden-Baden without the queen. So if the king could do it, why couldn't the rest of society do it?
For many of the upper classes, the king's behaviour legitimised adultery. Letters and diaries of the day reveal it to have been commonplace. Name cards will help the Manderston guests find their own rooms, but in 1910 they were there to guide illicit lovers to the right door. The wealthy were discreetly breaking the very rules they imposed on their servants. The guests are arriving for Sir John's Saturday to Monday shooting party. The term weekend was frowned on, as it implied those attending held employment during the week.
Very much.
Very few rules for the day, no ground game, we're not shooting snipe today, and as usual, if you hear a horn or a whistle, please stop shooting, and have a splendid day.
Thank you. Sure we will. Yeah.
To the Edwardian nouveau riche, the primary function of the countryside was not agriculture, but sport. In a single day of Edwardian shooting, 6 men could kill up to 3,000 birds.
Do I enjoy clays? Yes. But I don't enjoy it as much as a proper shooting day for the table. It's the old hunting instinct, I guess, which we can deny. I'm sure we all hunt in our own sweet ways.
For shooting parties, no compromise shall be made in the level of service afforded the master and his guests. Luncheon will be required at noon, for which silver and china must be laid out in advance beneath appropriate shelter.
I got one up. Now why this won't go up, I don't know. I've done something fundamentally wrong. Only I can think what it was. Charlie, this is no time to hit the bottle. You can have all the food around it. Oh. It's like a sail.
There were a lot of unscathed birds going through there. That's all part of the deal.
Well, they were very good birds. They flew extraordinarily well for this time of year, so early in the season.
Yeah.
And I say, I call it nature conservation when I miss, which is very often. Next drive, on.
Shooting parties were almost exclusively male preserves. Women were expected to remain back at the house to formally entertain the other house guests.
Lady McEwen, won't you take a seat?
Thank you.
That's very kind. Do you live close by?
I'm just the other side of Duns, about 4 miles beyond Duns.
We are having problems because the time is all spent so formally, we aren't able to communicate with each other. And that's causing problems within the family.
And it's a lovely thing to do because you can walk along the sea edge.
Jonty took to putting talked to Mummy in my diary. He wanted me to allocate a space to talk to him because he said, I haven't seen you now for the last 8 days.
Adapting to precedence is one of the major bugbears in the family.
Whether you
and
eat jelly with a fork or a spoon.
Whether we eat jelly with a fork or a spoon occupied us for a considerable amount of time. But
my sister and I have a very deep and very loving relationship.
Indeed.
We simply can't have the sort of chat we used to have while she is in the position that she has to maintain at the moment.
And so I felt less loved than I do around her in the 21st century.
You're never more than 5 or 10 miles from it.
It's actually a much more rigid system than I anticipated. And the head of household actually is where everything trickles down from.
Let's hope the afternoon is at least as good as the morning.
Yeah. Thank you.
The men in this society were brought up to feel that they were superior from the moment they were born. And I think John is doing that very well.
I hope you're duly impressed by my blood and thunder gun.
I think it's terrific. Left over from Waterloo in some faraway store. Exported from Afghan.
In a world of double standards, men were almost expected to misbehave. But a young woman's virtue had to be closely guarded.
Hello, can you just sit there? I'll finish this. On Friday, was it, you were out?
Yes, sir.
When you came back, when Ellen came along, I noticed that she had her brooch undone. And her blouse was a bit open, and it slightly worried me, sir. There are great dangers. Not for yourself. You don't have a problem in the household. Look at me, Ken. But if it got upstairs, you know what the consequence is?
Yes.
What is it?
Ellen leaves, sir.
Ellen leaves. Now, do you want Ellen to leave?
No, sir.
Discretion is the order of the day.
Right, sir.
Now, may I just finish?
Sorry,
you know?
sorry.
So, I haven't told you off.
No, sir.
It's one man to another man. You wouldn't want to compromise Ellen, would you?
You know, I wouldn't say.
No. So that's what I'm saying.
I would definitely be seriously annoyed about the fact that I was the one that was picked on as opposed to Kenny. Kenny would just get a thrashing and I'd get sent off with no reference and have to become a prostitute. Which doesn't seem right somehow.
I enjoy general practice, thank you very much. I like the continuity.
Ready when you are, monsieur. What's the name of this technique, monsieur?
Sticking the feather up the pheasant's arse.
What was the pheasant way
It seems to be slow, so I suspect that this might have been better pre-carved. It wouldn't have looked as good, but I think we might have then been eating hot pheasant rather than cool pheasant.
Raja Brooks.
Yes, it was Sarawak, wasn't it? Sarawak.
What are we waiting for? There's game chips and what else?
Being the butler isn't easy. I know he's got a right. I know it shouldn't bother me. But it did. Because if there's one thing I have done, is to serve him loyally.
Are you ready?
It's really going.
It's not coming down. It's going.
It's the thermals.
Ultimately, that is our job, is to serve the family. But you sometimes think, no wonder that era came to an end.
Trousers off.
The more you do, the more they seem to want.
Excuse me.
And the more you give, the less they appreciate it. Tomorrow I might think differently. But tonight, I really feel pretty rotten.
Or do you want to catch your favourite perch?
I think I'll catch trout and perch.
We can try.
Trouts are down there and perch are down there, but we'll go to the perch first.
Down?
Yes, come on. Come on. Come on, boy.
Yes, a fish.
Yes, come on.
Strip it in. Well done.
I think it's better downstairs because it's more sort of my sort of place. It's more relaxed and there's all people not going. Formality. No, mother must go first. Not you guys. No, Avril's going first now. Kenny!
Hello, Guy.
A bit of success from fishing. What kind of fish have you ever caught?
Carp, Master Guy, perch.
Any traps?
No, trouts are for posh people. Bit snooty sport for me, really. Gobby little rotters as well. Hey! Come on. So what did you catch these with, a fly rod? Who taught you to fly fish?
Dad.
Today, Maddiston is to host the local hunt. 150 people must be served port and fruitcake, both inside and outside the house.
Heated tongs should always be employed when opening bottles of vintage port, to enable the neck of bottle to be removed together with the cork and eliminating the possibility of the cork breaking and spoiling the wine. At the same time, place a feather in water to soak and see if that works. And the answer is no.
It's supposed to crack it off, isn't it?
Yes, because of the heat. That did it.
That's
probably the measure of it, wasn't it, sir?
Yeah, well...
Where does the feather come into this?
No, it's done it.
Stroke it real quick.
The people who come into the hall have a vintage boat, 20-year-old vintage boat. And those who are outside have a good quality boat, but not 20-year-old. It's just a demonstration that it is a hierarchical society.
I don't think I'm paraphrasing, sir, when I say that Sir John said that there's 3 levels. The knobs, the scutter, and then we'd be the dregs, sir.
Oh, I don't like to consider myself the dregs, Robin.
And I'm happy calling them knobs.
Great effort on your part, Mrs. Davis. Well done.
Thank you.
The Edwardian era was the golden age of blood sports. Over £8 million a year was spent on fox hunting alone, the equivalent of £500 million today.
Good morning. How do you do? Nice to meet you. My wife Lucy Wilson.
It had become so popular that foxes were even imported from Europe to meet demand.
It's so cool.
The fledgling animal rights movement was concerned largely with horse beating and vivisection. To the vast majority, hunting was a harmless and ancient tradition.
If you stay like that, we could pour some drink down. It'd be a very good idea.
His behaviour is getting, I would say, worse and worse. If you ask him to do something now, he'll deliberately do the opposite. So if I say, don't stand on my dress, he will actually go and deliberately stand on it, which makes me feel that he's really quite disturbed by the situation.
Take one more, darling. He seemed to thoroughly enjoy himself. He let fly with some wonderful remarks.
I'm sure he did, I know.
My lord.
This hunt is part of the Edwardian project. Would I host a hunt in 2001? No, I wouldn't. We do things within the house that conscience would not allow us to do in 2001.
It's been a wonderful meet. Very kind.
It's good to see you here. Have a tremendous morning.
That's very kind. If you don't mind, we'll move off.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much indeed.
ice cream? Come on, here we go. You're supposed to eat your temperature.
You never said a word to me about that. I'm really, 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 really happy with Kenny. I think he's absolutely amazing.
I've got her back because she's going to go first. Because if we both come out together, then it looks a bit sus. And so if she goes and then I wait for about 3 minutes, then I'm okay.
The excitement of having to sneak around and he's just wonderful. Just, God.
This one is for somebody who is very important. It's the Poet Laureate. He's Mr. Andrew Motion. Now, I've not seen him, not heard him before, but I hope I'll be able to hear him speak.
Beside blood sports and infidelity, country house parties were also designed to further the host's social standing. Poets and artists were popular guests. A poet laureate implied a royal connection and was therefore even more in demand.
There is a severe absence of fish.
It was quite common, actually, to invite up.
Very commonplace.
Why not? These were, by and large, arranged marriages, weren't they?
Do you hear the tittle-tattle below stairs, then?
I go downstairs.
He's the only one.
You're the best informed, then.
Well, Edwardian servants weren't allowed to have relationships with other servants. The footmen are not allowed to have liaisons with the maids or anything like that. I imagine if they did want to, they married and left the house.
I don't think so.
Really
I think that if they did, and the master of the house found out, then they'll be chucked out.
New series,
Below stairs, there is growing tension over the relationship between the hall boy and the scullery maid, who are not doing the jobs expected of them.
We've got problems at the moment in the kitchen with Ellen and Kenny. Now they just want to spend the time together, and all these jobs aren't getting done. And I'd asked her, can you help me out? And she didn't really. So I was a bit disappointed in her because I really thought she would have, been a good help.
Lovebirds is not a good idea in kitchens. I've been saying it for many times and I keep thinking about it. Same environment is not a good idea at all.
Between them, Kenny and Ellen should be keeping the ranges up to heat.
They didn't look after the bloody stove. It takes 2 to 3 hours to bloody heat up properly, to make bloody tea or make anything, toast or whatever. But I mean, I need a stove, for God's sake. If I don't have the stove, I can't cook.
If two people want to be together, then there is nothing on God's earth would keep them apart.
It's the consequences to the household that I'm interested in.
Right, well, the consequences to the household, work comes first.
Well, since Ellen's arrived, Kenny's worked harder. I'll give him that. I think he's worked harder. But I think now, this last week, it's sort of gone off a bit, that.
But the thing is, with that Ellen thing, that was his reward. That was his, like, big bonio, so to speak. And then he gets the prize, so now he doesn't have to work anymore.
And he's always been trying to do as least as he can, and now he's got a comrade, because Ellen obviously is going to support him because, they love each other.
To me, punishing is a tool to try and bring him to heel and to try and make him do the work.
Monsieur, do you think we should take Kenny's screen away?
No. Fresh air, open the windows and open the door as well. Fresh air! That will actually make him actually a bit more...
Scrutiny's lifting.
Take away the screen. We can see what's going on then, and we'll make sure his room's tidy.
It's not that bad, but...
He's obviously tidied it today.
Oh, look under the bed. He's pushed it under the bed.
Look at that bed,
Everybody's gone a bit peculiar because of the me and Ellen thing. Said that we aren't doing enough work. And I'm really upset. And the fact that I've spent time with these people and I trust these people and I've defended these people just makes it 10 times worse. So like twisting the knife once it's gone in.
I'm going to go into the woods in a minute and smash some branches against some trees to try and get this anger out of me before I explode, because I'm really not happy about this whole situation. We are treated like imbeciles, and I know, admittedly, this is the way we should be treated. But the fact is that everybody's so hypocritical in this place, and even Monsieur's starting to be a now, and I really can't be doing with that. I'm not going to talk to him anymore.
What would you think if it was he knew we were discussing him the night like this?
He'd love it, because that's exactly what he lives for.
The attention, isn't it? I can see why they're together, because they've got this intimacy which I think all of us are really missing from our normal modern lives, and you know, that's why it must be great for them to be together. You know, they've got something that none of us have got.
A rigid hierarchy denies people the opportunity to demonstrate love to each other. A lot of women would have thought they were going completely mad if there's nobody around telling them, actually, no, what you're feeling is quite reasonable given the circumstances. And I imagine women would have been put into insane asylums on the basis they were mad. Or they will do as I did for the last 2 days, retire to their bed.
Miss Anson's not coped very well. There's been a few floods of tears. I had to sort of virtually pick her up outside her room one day and take her back in. She thought it was very restraining. She feels that her sister, Lady Olive Cooper, has changed towards her. Sir John, she feels, is arrogant and full of himself, and they don't care about her in the way that she should really be cared for as a sister.
Miss Anson has become increasingly tired and has not left her room for 2 days. Dr. Maurice McCrae, a medical historian, is physician to the family while they are at Mandeston.
You look a bit tense at the moment.
No.
You're not. You don't feel that you are particularly.
Last week in particular, I started to get very tired, virally tired, you know, when you just can't deal with life. So I would try to just take a little bit of sleep during the afternoon,
right,
which helped, but it wasn't enough. And then on
It's fairly obvious that the domestic situation here, within the family and so on, has got a good deal to do with how she feels at the moment. So one of the important things to do, of course, would be to take her out of that situation.
The carriage is ready, Miss Anson. Shall I put your bags in the carriage for you?
Yes, please.
And that, of course, is what the physicians would have done at that time.
Just to go in the carriage, please, if you can find it.
Have a lovely time, Rebel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All sorted out.
Give my love to
Sir John. Yeah.
I'm sorry to have missed him.
I was surprised that Avril felt so strongly, but I accept that she did feel very strongly and felt very disturbed by the situation. I was trying to balance myself in the environment. Avril was trying to balance herself in the environment. I didn't pick up early enough how difficult she was finding it. We've always considered ourselves equal in our 21st century lives, and we shall, well, I hope, from my point of view, will certainly go back to considering myself to be equal.
Well, at least it's no rain for you, Miss Anson, that's one thing.
Yes. I have such confidence.
You've been stuck in so much rain.
I'm not even taking my umbrella.
Well, that's dangerous.
But like you
dangerous
said,
in Scotland not to take your umbrella.
As you said, you know, sometimes you simply have to be reckless.
And that's what you're going to be, Miss Anson.
I'm going to be reckless.
Miss Anson has been a victim of sticking to the rules. And she's been a true Edwardian woman, and she's paid the price for that.
Goodbye, Mr. Royce. Goodbye, ma'am. Goodbye, Edgar.
Miss Anson has no role. She cannot invite her friends. She never will sit at the head of the table. She has a half-lived life. How very, very Edwardian.
The Poet Laureate, Mr. Andrew Motion, has agreed to read some poetry to us.
A friendly chat. He told me how much he valued me. And in essence, he apologized. And since then, we are back having conversations as we used to before. Of course, what one does realize is that if it's happened once, it could happen again. I must be aware that he is the master and I am the servant.